So, plans have definitely changed after we did call an audible last week. I mean, who in the hell had this match on their 2023 bingo card? But before we do get there, hello my friends, it is I, Simon Miller, and welcome to Ups and Downs for AEW Dynamite. And very sadly, that's why I'm wearing the t-shirt at the end of this episode, we will say goodbye to Barry Barricade. We do indeed have to host his funeral, complete with some special guests. But before then, let's up those downs. But yes, our first match was the brand new international champion, Fenix, and he was taking on none other than the greatest man ever, Jeff Jarrett. Obviously, Jon Moxley wasn't meant to lose the championship, but after he had suffered a bad blow to the head and he didn't feel very good, and he wasn't cleared to work this episode of Dynamite, he made the call to lose, so now Fenix is the champion. But I tell you, the upside of this is not in a million years that I think Fenix was ever going to win, because he wasn't meant to. So now, every time I sit down to watch an international title match, my brain is going, well, maybe the other guy could win. That's good wrestling. Fenix also hit a dive instantly, so thank you very much, Masked Man, from saving us from an alien attack. And of course, because Jarrett was out with his entire crew, all of these guys just kept interfering and casting distraction. To the point, when Jay Lethal tried to get involved, Fenix gave him a Hurricane Rana. Jay went right into Satnam Singh's penis. Don't get mad at me, that's what happened. As soon as the bell rang too, Fenix went hop hop hey, and he hit Jeff with this crazy moonsault. And I was like, man, all of this has happened in about 8.2 seconds. And when Satnam cast distraction to stop a Phoenix cutter, Jeff Jarrett hit a DDT, and he was literally shouting at his cronies, help me, help me. I was like, Aubrey, referee, you gotta do something about this. So she did, because she went and took out Karen Jarrett, the feud that will never die. Somewhere during all this too, Jeff had hurt Phoenix's leg, which I'm sure is going to tie into the future, but he was still able to zip around and try and take everybody else out until Sonjay Dutt was here, and he had leveled up his MP, and he too was casting distraction. That's when Double J was able to hit Phoenix right in the balls and go for the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. I tell you, I thought he was going to have it. It was a 1-2 ooh. This made him even madder though, so much like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, he basically said, Satnam, get over here. But actually, this just ended up in a massive melee. So Phoenix was like, well, turn around is fair play, you absolute goober. And he hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. And this time, he got the Uno Dos Tres. What did I tell you? It always works. It also means the counter goes up by 1, because of course it does. I tell you, Phoenix was all like, oh, my leg after this. So it is going to tie in, especially because later on, we were going to have Nick Jackson versus Brian Cage versus Claudio Castagnoli to decide a brand new #1 contender. And that is just some good action right there. You wait till we get to it. Just getting it up. We then cut to the adventures of MJF and Adam Cole. Let's just get right into it. Yes, Adam Cole is wearing a walking boot, and according to him, he has shattered his ankle, and he's gonna need surgery. Nuts. Now we shall get into this later, but my word, it has triggered more conspiracies than the flipping moon landing, with some people saying, oh my gosh, he's definitely injured, and others going, no, I think this is a work. Now I'm gonna err on the side of caution here, and just send a bunch of positive Pete thoughts to Adam Cole, and I hope he gets better soon. But if it does turn out that he has worked me, then round of applause, my friends. This is some damn good trickery. Anyway, here they were hanging out on Maxwell's dad's boat, and actually shout out to that guy, because he was very kind to me at All In, and I haven't forgotten it, where Cole was trying to explain to MJF, look, I know you were upset last week that I had to go and help Roderick Strong, but this is just how friendship works. You can be my friend, and he can be my friend. And if you don't see this, it makes you a little bit of a psychopath. So the love triangle does continue, and Friedman was like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I do get it. When he went to the back of this boat, and you could see him putting on the diamond ring. Ruh-roh. Cole could sense something was up, so he was like, Max, are you going to throw me off this boat? And then Jeff's like, no, I wouldn't do that. Especially because the last time I did actually throw somebody off this thing, well, it almost didn't go very well. This is when the camera cut out to the sea though, and do you know who was there in a damn rubber dinghy as MJF and Adam Cole tried to do some fishing? It was none other than Paul White, who was super duper pissed off. This really made me laugh. Somehow they made up and this whole segment finished with them all drinking beer together. So this was just goofy wrestling for life. And honestly, they never miss. This is proper funny stuff, and long may it continue. All these crazies on the internet going, oh my gosh, it's too funny. Who has ever said that before? It's too funny. Oh yeah, I hate laughing. I hate feeling good about myself. Let's just take a brick and smash it into our heads. What are we talking about? Just getting it up. This kind of carried on too because we were then on the streets of Japan with Takeshita and Don Callis as they were walking around and basically just causing carnage. It's also because they were hunting down Kota Ibushi as Don told Kenny Omega, well, you better go and find another partner because we're gonna take out your buddy for good. What? Don't bring it down. There is the crime counter, and this is me just getting ahead of the game, because wait until I tell you what happened next. It is definitely got to be considered a damn crime. Because Rey Fenix was in the ring and she invited these felons to come out and join her. And this was so Don Callis could go, oh, look who is a brand new member of my family. It's none other than Sammy Guevara. Now they all got booed like they were Dominic Mysterio. Well, yes, we got more footage from Japan where Takeshita and Don Callis had gone into Ibushi's training school, and this is genuinely what happened. Because at first Takeshita just whooped some rookie's ass when Kota tried to stop all of this, when Don had an umbrella and he whacked Ibushi. And I was like, well, that's pretty bad, but no, who really cares? When all of a sudden, Takeshita had a kettlebell and he smacked it into Ibushi's head. I don't know why I'm laughing. Again, this is attempted murder. Don made it even worse because he spent the whole time going, you're never going to be safe again. And look, in the world of kayfabe, Callis and Takeshita flew all the way to Japan so they could try and kill Kota Ibushi. I think the crime counter may be dead forever. This is when we were back with Sammy and he was all like, oh my gosh, everyone's treating me like the villain, but I'm the hero here. I was like, yeah, sure pal, whatever you say. This is due to the fact that Chris Jericho kept clipping his wings, but now he is going to fly. And the whole time, the fans were chanting, flub you, Sammy. But they weren't saying flub, made me laugh. The whole point though is that Callis has shown Guevara that Jericho was never going to pass him the torch, so he was going to have to take it, when they all promised Omega, Jericho, and Ibushi that they were going to leave them in a pool of their own tears. And I was like, man, you guys are really, really whack. It is a very good act though, because they have zero redeemable features, and they're just a bunch of terrible human beings. I imagine they could win at Wrestle Dream 2, because then you establish them as a mega threat. So I am kind of excited about this. Also, how could that match be bad? Giving it an up. When we found Ricky Starks, who had been chatting after what had happened on AEW Collision, as always, he wasn't very happy. Neither was Wheeler Yuta, and of course they had fallen out at the end of the show. So Wheels walked in here and just went, look who it is. Ricky Starks, I think you're an entitled prick. I was like, man, don't sit on the fence. He then challenged Ricky to have a match at the pay-per-view, so wham bam, thank you man, there you go. And that will be a really good fight, and of course it probably means that Ricky Starks can get a win, and he needs a W, because he has been losing a lot recently. When AEW chose chaos, because of course they did. Now Dr. Robotnik was nowhere to be seen, but it was Nick Jackson versus Brian Cage versus Claudio Castagnoli, and I don't know, before they went out there, somebody had whispered in their ear, you need to make sure you go at 25 miles an hour, otherwise we're gonna blow up this bus, but they just went at a frantic speed, and somehow they didn't make one mistake. These guys are good wrestlers. So they really do deserve some kind of award for this. And because of the Jon Moxley situation, and because it tied into the international title picture, once again I was like, well, I really don't know what's going to happen here. Well, aside from the fact that Brian Cage powered up to start this, and he started to throw everyone around like they were kids. Remember, don't throw around children. Jackson fought back by flying off the ropes and did this ridiculous springboard senton when Claudio just booted him right in the face. And it was one of those moves where it connects so hard, I just go, because I can't believe it. Brian saw this, I hit the most ludicrous release German suplex you've ever seen when we had this moonsault DDT thingamajig, and I watched it about 100 times, and I was like, nope, that's 2 + 2 = potato, it doesn't make any sense. From nowhere to, Nick just busted out a 450, and that's when I had to go lay down, because this thing was non-stop. Castagnoli then did the giant swing onto Brian Cage, which was quite the sight, although when Nick Jackson tried to get involved, all of a sudden he was being F5'd. That resulted in a 1-2-ooh, when Brian turned his attention to Claudio, and he suplexed him from the outside back into the ring. So I was just clapping again like a damn seal. Everybody was then hitting everybody else with the move, and I was losing my brain because I couldn't keep up here. When Claudio found Brian Cage, he started to smash him with the elbows, he hit the bomb of power, and just as he was about to get the win, Nick Jackson was back, he hit Hurricane Rana, he threw Castagnoli to the outside, and he picked the bones, and he got a 1-2-3. That's when I fell over. How the hell did they do it? So this was just like being on an out-of-control roller coaster, but knowing it was going to be okay because nobody was going to die. I mean, this was just entertainment personified, and I don't understand how somebody couldn't like it. I mean, somebody won't because that's just the world we live in, but I am totally giving it an up. And also it now means on the anniversary episode of Dynamite, it is Nick Jackson taking on Fenix, and if you know, you know. We then got a video package for the Righteous, who continue to aim for MJF and Adam Cole. So that was a bit like, well, what are we going to do at the pay-per-view? When it turned out we were going to find out, because here came Better Than You Baby. Now once again, as they did head to the ring, if Adam Cole's injury is fake, he is selling it like a trooper, but he did sit down on a chair and he was like, look, I am injured, I do need surgery, and therefore me and Max are gonna have to forfeit the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Damn. Max lost his mind at this and said there is no way he's giving over these championships to the douchebags, the Righteous, which is why come Sunday, he will go at this by himself and defend them in a handicap match. He's mostly doing this because he knows how much Adam Cole loves these titles, so he wants to do it for his buddy. So would you excuse me, I have something in my eye. This is when all of a sudden you heard Adam. And here came Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. And now Roderick has actually gone out there and got a personalised wheelchair. Seriously. Just when you think they can't raise the bar, they throw it through the roof. Now, he was saying it's an emergency and he needs to talk to Adam Cole right now. And because of everything that happened on the boat, MJF was like, look, I don't really like this, but you are my pal, you are my buddy, so I understand. Go and do what you need to do. So my heart was bleeding once more. Maxwell Jacob Friedman has become the most wholesome babyface ever. So Cole did go away, so something is cooking with these guys, although we were about to get some damn dinner right away, because just as MJF was going to carry on speaking, who interrupted him? It was flubbing Jay White. He told his Bullet Club boys to wait in the back because he wanted to go one-on-one with MJF, and honestly, this was just such a good promo off, especially because Max was like, hey Jay, how you doing? I've been compared to a lot of wrestlers in my career, and usually I didn't care until somebody compared me to you. Because while Friedman is a fine filet mignon, he thinks Jay White is nothing more than tofu. And I was like, well, man, if somebody's into tofu, he's just alienated them. It's actually quite deep, though, because Maxwell's point was that people have to convince themselves that they like tofu, even though it's really bland, which is exactly how he sees Jay White. Shots fired. He also thinks that White has been given all these opportunities but done nothing with them. When Jay was like, aha, you want to come at me, do you? Well, one, let's not forget that Adam Cole almost had his career ended by me at the Forbidden Door. And also, he's walking around with a broken ankle. And do you know who to blame for that? It's you, MJF. You to blame. He also reminded us that he was the guy that had sold out the United Center and Madison Square Garden, which will send the internet into meltdown. And honestly, it's just the way that Jay White says things. You believe every damn word. He also called Max soft, which really wound the world champion up. And of course, we know that MJF is flipping going on an all-time run right now. And just as they were about to fight, Jay White bailed. Because of course he did. But man, this got me totally revved up. Of course I want to see MJF versus Jay White. That could actually be a feud of the year. I really do hope we take our time with this too, because if we do play our cards right, you could have Jay win that title and it would absolutely be the right move. Now, I have not done this justice, and you should go and watch it. I give it the Simon Miller guarantee, and I am also giving it an up. When Jim Ross had quite the job, because he was conducting a sit-down interview between Darby Allin and Christian Cage, so straight away I got scared in my tum-tum. I was like, man, who is dead in Darby's family? Because this guy's gonna go after him. Cage has ever won this whole thing instantly, because after Ross had said, hey, well done, man, you finally won the TNT title, it's like, what are you talking about? I've been the champion for ages, and I retained it at the weekend. So I'm sorry, I mean this. No matter what promotion or who's doing what in the industry, Christian Cage is doing some of the best work. I mean, he is untouchable. He's also clearly a lunatic, although he was so serious here. And after he had been asked about the fact that Darby Allin had pinned him a couple of times, he was like, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Because this Sunday, the championship is on the line, and when things get serious, this guy can't do nothing. He's a waste of space. He then told Darby to tell his family that they're going to be let down. When he was like, oh man, is your uncle gonna be there? No, he's not, because he's dead. I can't believe that we keep doing this. Look at me. It's turned me into some flubbly goo on the floor. I understand how he's made this work. Darby had such a cool comeback though, because he was like, oh man, yeah, surprise, surprise. I knew you were going to say that. But also when we get to our match, there's one thing you have forgotten. I don't care if I live, and I don't care if I'm gonna die. I am just gonna bring every single thing that I've got. I was like, man, Darby, you're so damn cool. Cage was totally fine with that as well, and he said, yeah, sure, bring everyone. And also, why don't you bring Nick Wayne's mother? Although don't worry about it, I can sort that one out, because I have her digits. I was like, damn it, he did it again. They then both acted like Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne will probably be banned from ringside when Christian Cage took an insult at the fact that Darby Allin hides behind his face paint. This is when Allin got some water and he washed it all off. I'm like, man, that's kind of significant. It then ended by Cage saying that he is the champion and Darby Allin better get used to it. And look, I was into this match anyway, but I sat there and I said to myself, well, now I'm doubly pumped. This was really good stuff. Amazingly too, I want Christian to retain because I still think there is so much more we can do with this. But look, it is another round of applause. And by this point, I was like, man, I think this Dynamite may be pure fire. I was totally right. This is getting it up. When we got another party match. I was like, AEW, you spoil us. But it was Orange Cassidy versus Penta versus Matt Jackson versus Austin Gunn, because of course all of these tag teams are going to square off at Wrestle Dream. And it was just a flipping good time. Sometimes literally. Austin was hilarious too, because he must have watched the match prior to this, because he just spent the early stages of this trying to pin everyone, to the point they all got pissed off with him and threw him out the ring. As soon as he was heel too, he went up to Penta and started to do a pose off. But this didn't work well either, because he took it too far and Penta chopped his ass. But you didn't chop his ass, that'd just be like a spanking. I don't know how we got here. Matt was then doing all these crazy dives, but when Orange tried to do it, Austin somehow turned it into this awesome neck breaker for a 1-2-ooh. But let's face it, that was never going to work, because pieces of fruit don't have necks. He was then teasing he was going to do a pedigree or a powerbomb or a pile driver, but every single time he tried this, he got back body dropped out of it when two other people would run at each other and give them a Canadian destroyer. Now I get it, that segment of the internet is going to be mad again, but this had me laughing out loud. They were just clearly having a good time, so that emotion comes out the screen, it hits me in the face, and I'm having a good time too. Jackson then used Orange as a platform to hit Penta when we got near fall. When we had fear factors being turned into beach breaks, being turned into orange punches. I mean, this was totally, absolutely ridiculous. Somehow Austin came out on top here as well, so he got triple super kicked as Matt and Penta went back into it. But then there was kind of a fracas on the outside with Penta and Austin. When Orange Cassidy was back, he hit Matt Jackson with the orange punch and he got the 1-2-3. I was like, well, where the hell did that come from? Seriously though, it was just so good, and after the fact, everybody looked at everybody else, because we are going to do that tag team match at the weekend. And I love the fact that this exists, this kind of match. It's just totally wacky and totally weird, but it makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum and makes me do this weird thing with my neck. This momentum on Dynamite continued too, because we then went straight to Julia Hart. She's been on a tear recently. The same is true for her opponent Willow Nightingale, and we had story here, because the reason they didn't fight last week is because Julia had spat some mist right in Willow's face, so when she was coming to the ring, she had this massive bandage over her eye, sell the wound. Nightingale got right into this though, until she realised, oh man, that Julia Hart has come out with Brody King, the Barry Barricade killer, so what am I gonna do? She was right, Brody started casting distraction, and Julia used it to her advantage. I mean, she made sure to chop Willow, so now she had no eye and no leg. And I don't know whether it's because we are building up to this TBS title match, but Julia Hart has kind of embraced her creepy ways recently, and she's tied it into her matches and to her character. She is coming across as something very unique. She still decided to go for a sleeper because she must have been tired, which is when Willow turned this into a DVD and a spine buster for a 1-2-ooh, when she started walking around the ring going, oh, I'm gonna do it. But again, she's the best babyface. I was totally behind her. She also raked her with a pounce, which is once again when Brody was like, over here, over here. That is not how Brody King talks. And because Nightingale got distracted by this, Julia Hart was able to avoid the cannonball by doing this set up in the corner when she hit this picture-perfect moonsault for the 1-2-3. Honestly, I have not done that justice. That was a badass finish. The fans really got into this too, and of course afterwards Hart applied the Heartless because she is totally insane when Chris Statlander ran out and she almost got into it with Brody King. I was like, you know what? I'd watch that match. We are going to get Hart versus Statlander for the title at Wrestle Dream though, And this was the best way to make you care just that little bit more. Honestly, once again, I keep saying it, this Dynamite was off the charts. Getting it up. I also just love seeing homegrown talent evolving in front of our eyes. And speaking of eyes, here came Hangman Adam Page. Now, he was about to have a good old-fashioned sports entertainment contract signing with Swerve Strickland, which is why there was a bunch of wrestling security in the ring. Wrestling security, always so pointless, sometimes bald. Swerve has always just started firing off these excellent lines where he was all like, man, we're never going to be the same, because what's a farmer to a mogul? And what's a buckshot to a kill shot? And I was like, wait a minute, should that be added to the crime counter? I'm not entirely sure, so I'm just going to leave it. Hangman is all about this, though, because Swerve has lit a fire under his ass because he's been experiencing his own ups and downs recently. Like, he remembers beating John Moxley in the deathmatch. He remembers reuniting with the Elite, but every single time he had something good in his life or the sun started to shine, it would pour down with rain, and he'd be a sad panda again. Despite this, look, he is still here, and because he loves the fans and the fans love him, they want to see the best version of the cowboy come the pay-per-view. So that's exactly what Swerve Strickland is gonna get. Yes, Swerve as ever is the best because he just laughed this off. He's like, man, that is as pathetic as Russell Wilson and the Broncos last week. So there's your sports heel line for the evening. And when he is done with Adam, he's gonna take his spot, especially because the pay-per-view is happening from Seattle. And have you seen the weather there? It ain't great. Page then reminded Strickland that sure, he has had all these opportunities, but look, he has smashed every single one out of the park, whereas Swerve is about to find out when you are put in this position, it's harder than you think, and you're just gonna fail. Strickland didn't like that at all, so he slapped him right in the face, which annoyed Page, because as Strickland then signed the contract, he took the pen and he stabbed it into Swerve's hand. I was like, once again, does that need to go on the crime counter? I don't think you're allowed to do that. It is, of course, when security jumped in to calm this down, but seriously, just let these two guys cook. They will serve you up something fabulous, and maybe out of the whole show, including Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr., I may be more excited about this, because it has all the potential in the world, and it is getting it up. It's also the same for the actual ending of Dynamite. Because when was the last time we did something like this? Because we were in the back with Jay White when all of a sudden he was jumped by 4 masked dudes. I mean, not only did they throw him into a wall, but they hurled him into a box-like structure. This is when another guy showed up and dun, he was wearing the mask that MJF sometimes wears. So now look where we are. Because could this be MJF? Sure. I mean, I don't think it would be, but you are allowed to think that. Could it be Adam Cole? Absolutely. Especially because they did that video package a few weeks ago. And where was that mask? It was on Adam Cole's side of the locker room. Maybe it's somebody like Edge. Like, this person wasn't tall enough to be Edge, but the reason these things work so well is because you can get excited and speculate to your heart's content. I mean, seriously, it could be Repo Man. Dare to dream. This is why it rocks though, and if you are going to do this at the end of Dynamite, it has to result in something big. So now I am totally pumped. Of course I'll tune into next week. This was a good bit of wrestling business, and it is getting it up. Which does indeed bring us to the end of the show, and of course Dynamite is going to get it up, because I thought this was a terrific way to lead into that pay-per-view. Otherwise though, go dress up in your best, I suppose. It's time for the funeral of the year. So yes, hello my friends, and it's a very, very sad day, but we are joined here together to celebrate the life of Barry Barricade, who was a terrific guardrail, a great friend, and an awesome protector. And I remember just a few weeks ago when I was mercifully being beaten up by powerhouse Will Hobbs, and he threw me into the crowd. And if it wasn't for Barry, well, maybe I would have been murdered or beheaded or who knows what. But the wonderful goodness about Barricade, about Baz, as I like to call him, was he was always there for you. So I have written a little poem for Barry, if you will just indulge me, and it goes a little something like this. Barry, I love you. You were my friend, but now you're dead, because it's the end. Now, I did reach out to the wrestling community, and a few people did have some lovely words to say. I'm going to share them with you right now.
I wanted to say, take a minute and say, I'm gonna miss you, Barry Barricade. We've had some very good times together. We've had a lot of really good memories. You've always had my back by literally having other people's backs slammed into you repeatedly on multiple occasions, most notably Serpentico, who sucks, and just so many people. And I've had such amazing memories with your brothers, Gary Barricade and Larry Barricade and Jerry Barricade, even though he still owes me like $25. And if I see him, I swear if I see him. But I still have one of your aprons that you wore recently. It's Fight Forever AEW. It's out now at all major gaming retailers and such, and all platforms. I'm just really gonna miss you, Barry.
Well, didn't think it would happen, but it did. Over 100 assaults. That just tells you how tough Barry was, but over 100 assaults. And now here I am in a cemetery trying to pick a plot of land for Barry the Barricade. Wait, what? Hold on. Are we gonna bury one barricade or the entire thing? Barry, you ribbed me. Barry's a funny dude. I'm an idiot. I'm over here looking for a plot of land for Barry the Barricade. He's not gonna fit here. He's huge. He's more than just one barricade. No, Barry was the whole thing. It's not. The funny thing is Barry probably would have put himself in front of the entrance of this cemetery to make sure idiots like me don't come in here bothering people about their business, because Barry's a funny dude. He's very funny. He's probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. So much so, you should have seen all the jokes getting thrown at Barry the Barricade, and they would literally just bounce off. All these jokes getting thrown into him, and they would just bounce right off. He was impenetrable. I should leave. I'm an idiot. Barry will live on forever. We're not going to bury him in the cemetery. Good one, Barry. You got me. I'll remember you forever. Especially that time you almost broke my back.
Yeah. So, Barry, it's finally over. You're dead. You're dead. Good. We used to play video games, me and Barry, killing time on the road. And this son of a bitch, anytime that I'd be winning at the video game, this cocksucker, you know what he did? Turn off the system. That is not the type of people that we need in this world. I'll tell you what, I'm happy he's dead. I don't care if he has a family, all right? What type of children you raising when you're turning off the video game? When you're losing, Barry, you son of a bitch. I don't forgive you. I hope you rot in hell. Right. Not sure calling a dead person a cocksucker was on the menu, but there you go. So, 100 assaults. We shall, of course, keep mentioning Barry here on Ups and Downs because his memory will never be forgotten. But now if you'll stand up with me and just put your arms like this, we can just have a few seconds of reflection for Barry Barricade. And of course, if you went to do that, you're an absolute loon, but I very much appreciate you playing along. Barry, rest in peace.